I'm Chris Hansen, right now on Crime Watch Daily from here in New York City. The verdict is in a sensational Southern murder case. A powerful Atlanta lawyer and his socialite wife on their way home from dinner when she's shot dead.
Did you intentionally kill your wife?
Oh, no, ma'am. No.
He insists his gun accidentally went off. But prosecutors say Tex McIver is a gold-digging killer, wanting his wife's millions.
The easiest way for him to gain control was to kill Diane.
Today, financial problems, rumors of an affair, a couple's dirty laundry exposed in court.
Did you do massages at the condo in Buckhead?
And now it's finally Judgment Day.
We find the defendant.
There were gasps in the courtroom.
Then, a Missouri couple's marriage hits the rocks.
He said, I think she must have ran away with another man.
But did Angie Yarnell really take off with a secret lover?
Instantly, I knew something was very wrong.
10 days later, with no word from Angie, an odd postcard arrives. And stranger things are about to happen.
I said, she didn't write it.
Right now.
Go, let's go.
Jason Matera with Crime Watch Daily.
I'm Michelle Sagona from Crime Watch Daily.
This
Elizabeth Smart from Crime Watch Daily.
It's Anna Garcia from Crime Watch Daily. You got anything to say?
is Crime Watch Daily.
What do you mean you don't know she's 13? You're running away now?
Welcome to Crime Watch Daily, everyone. I'm Chris Hansen. We start today with a blockbuster trial in Atlanta. A high-powered attorney accused of shooting and killing his wife, then trying to cover up the crime, saying it was an accident. We're in Georgia now with the verdict and what happens to the millions of dollars at stake. Mistake or murder? It's the question investigators have been asking since the day Claud Tex McIver was found holding the smoking gun that killed his wife. But now,
She hears a gunshot.
as of just days ago, that question may finally be answered.
The easiest way for him to gain control was to kill Diane.
Prosecutors are taking Tex to court, revealing all the evidence.
I said I can't lie.
Shocking surprise witnesses,
Did you do massages at the condo in Buckhead?
and even newly released video of Tex with the victim just moments before she died.
She started making these noises. They were horrible noises.
Did Tex McIver kill his wife in cold blood?
Count one, murder. We find the defendant.
They were the last couple you'd expect to find at the center of a murder investigation. He was a prominent lawyer and vice chair of the Georgia State Elections Board, and she was a dynamic, self-made business executive known for her extreme generosity. Together, they owned a massive ranch in Putnam County, Georgia, along with an extravagant weekend home in the Atlanta suburb of Buckhead. But on a late night in September 2016, these two pillars of the community would become known for something much more tragic. It began not with a fight, but a leisurely day of golfing at the ultra-exclusive Reynolds Golf Club on Lake Oconee and some wine tasting. Tex tells police that after that, Diane's longtime friend Danny Jo Carter offered to drive everyone home since she wasn't drinking. Then a detour. After falling asleep in the back seat, Tex says he wakes up to find Danny Jo driving through a sketchy neighborhood. Nervous, he says he asks his wife to hand him a small .38 caliber revolver from the center console.
And Tex fell back to sleep. McIver's attorney then says that Tex woke up to the sound of a gunshot and realized that the gun went off while Tex was holding it.
Diane slumps, bleeding from the gunshot wound. Terrified and panicked, Tex tells Danny Jo to get to the emergency room, but Tex directs her to Emory Hospital 5 miles away, oddly bypassing 3 closer hospitals along the way.
They said they took her to that hospital because Tex believes it's the best hospital in the Southeast. They also said that they didn't call 911 because they didn't want to waste time.
In this newly released surveillance video, you can see Tex waving Danny Jo to the front of the ER, then helping his dying wife into a wheelchair. Tragically, nothing can be done. Diane McIver dies in the ER. Tex tells investigators just before Diane passed, she told doctors her husband didn't mean to shoot her.
She said it was an accident.
Following the shooting, a distraught Tex speaks by phone with reporter Natalie Rubino from our Atlanta affiliate CBS 46.
lost my life partner. It really, really hurts.
But in the days after that, investigators started to wonder just how accidental was the shooting after all. Crime Watch Daily wanted to know if Tex's gun could have really just gone off as he claimed. So we brought in our own expert to test the theory.
Revolvers are very reliable mechanical instruments, and it's designed to fire only when you pull the trigger. You have to really mean to pull the trigger. It doesn't just accidentally go off.
If I were to drop that gun, would it go off?
No.
And there was something else Tex told police. The gun fired after they hit a bump in the road. But Danny Jo, the woman who was driving the car, says they were actually stopped at a red light.
She doesn't know whether Tex was asleep or not. She suspects that he was because he was being quiet. But in terms of what happened at that moment, she doesn't know.
And if that wasn't suspicious enough, just weeks after the shooting, our Atlanta affiliate CBS 46 uncovered this stunning detail about the couple's finances. Tex owed Diane money, lots of it.
Definitely leads to possible motive.
According to the agreement in December 2011, Tex borrowed $350,000 from his wealthy wife. It was supposed to be paid back with interest by December 2014. Tex failed to do that, so Diane gave her husband an extension until December 2017.
Maybe he couldn't pay the $350,000 back. Maybe that deal went bad. We don't know the circumstances of that, but it definitely leads to a possible motive.
And Tex was doing nothing to lift the suspicion, putting a treasure trove of Diane's luxury clothes and jewelry up for auction, more than 2,000 items just 2 months after her death. His lawyers explain it this way, saying the auction provides the cash to pay the people Diane named in her will. But would that be proven in court? Not long after the fatal shooting, we sent our Melissa McCarty to the McIver Ranch, just outside of Atlanta, to get Tex's story from Tex himself.
Is this Tex?
Yeah?
Hi, sir. My name's Melissa. I've been trying to reach you through your attorney, and I spoke to your brother last night, and we wanted to swing by to see if we can talk to you for a few minutes, whatever you're comfortable with.
I'm not, and you need to go through Mr. Maples, ma'am.
Okay, is there any way we can talk for a few minutes just without cameras, just you and I?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your wife and whatever you have to say. Are you available today if I go through your attorney?
No, ma'am.
After months of investigation, a grand jury indicts Tex McIver on 7 felony counts, including influencing witnesses, assault with a deadly weapon, and murder. And as he faces prosecutors in court, they're saying Diane's death was all part of a diabolical plan.
On Diane's death, he went from negative $5,000 to over $1.1 million.
Coming up, Tex, the target.
The easiest way for him to gain control was to kill Diane.
And a courtroom catches its breath.
What did you say back to him?
As the only other person in that car when the fatal shot was fired finally speaks.
I said I can't lie.
Prominent lawyer Tex McIver says he accidentally shot a gun from the back seat of his car, the bullet killing his wife Diane. But prosecutors believe it was murder. And their star witness, the woman who was sitting next to the victim driving the car. Multi-millionaire Diane McIver shot dead in her car. Now it's up to a jury. Was Diane's death an accident or a murder? For 7 excruciating weeks of testimony, Diane's husband, Claud Tex McIver, sits on pins and needles in an Atlanta courtroom, occasionally brought to tears. As prosecutors lay out their evidence of what they say is Tex's ruthless motive for killing Diane: money.
On Diane's death, he went from negative $5,000 to over $1.1 million cash instantly. And he was the executor and one of the beneficiaries of Diane's $7 million estate.
But Tex's potential windfall wasn't a sure thing. The DA alleges Diane planned to foreclose on the $350,000 loan she made to Tex.
This wasn't a, hey, you can pay me back whenever you get the money. This was an actual loan with a promissory note.
After that, she'd turn around and gift Tex's extravagant ranch to Diane's godson, 7-year-old Austin Schwall.
And Diane loved Austin so much, she would never draft a will without Austin being included in it.
Authorities say that's something Tex wasn't about to let happen.
The easiest way for him to gain control was to kill Diane.
As prosecutors lay out more evidence of premeditated murder, they've got a couple of tricks up their sleeves.
And what happened next?
She said, Tex, you shot me.
First on the stand, star witness Danny Jo Carter. She's been tight-lipped during the investigation. But now Danny Jo's opening up about that terrible day with a blow-by-blow recreation of that final car ride.
I heard a big boom, and I didn't know what it was. I thought there was an explosion somewhere, or somebody behind us was getting ready to hit us, or something had happened behind us. I did not realize that it was a gunshot right away.
Even though she was just inches away from the gunfire, she didn't really know Diane had been shot.
This was all happening in seconds, and I saw a puff of smoke, and I could see his hands, and I could see the top of the gun, I could see part of the gun, his hands, and some of the bag. And his hand was moving like this. I thought it was a joke, and then I realized it wasn't.
Danny Jo says she quickly knew those harrowing minutes after Tex shot Diane were a matter of life and death. As she raced to Emory Hospital, she could hear Diane's life quickly slipping away in the front seat.
She started making these noises that I've never heard before, and I thought she was dying. They were horrible noises.
She shocked the court, testifying Tex actually told her to slow down while directing her to the ER.
Told me I needed to be careful, that there might be people out there walking with baby carriages.
At trial, this surveillance video shows Tex waving Danny Jo to the front of the ER, then helping his wife Diane into a wheelchair. His defense team claims just before Diane died, she told doctors it was all an accident. But according to Danny Jo, it was Tex's words at the hospital that night that had the biggest impact. Specifically, when he pulled her aside just out of earshot of police officers and said this.
I don't trust these guys. Danny Jo, I hate to see you get wrapped up in this. I've seen how these things can go down. You just need to say you came down here as a friend of the family. I said, Tex, I just drove you into the emergency room.
And then did he say something in response to that?
He looked at me and he says, well, they don't know that.
Did Tex just ask Danny Jo to lie to cops?
And what did you say back to him?
I said, I can't lie.
But what happens next really raises suspicions. Tex holes up in the couple's high-rise condo, a mystery woman by his side.
Did you do massages at the condo in Buckhead?
Yes.
For years, Annie Anderson was Tex and Diane's fitness coach and massage therapist. And authorities are asking what was she doing staying at Tex's condo just one day after Diane died on an operating room table. Was Tex already looking for love?
In its opening arguments, the state planted a seed in the jurors' minds about Tex having an affair with his masseuse, Annie Anderson.
The defense cries foul and puts Annie on the stand to get the record straight.
Were you concerned about Tex McIver's well-being?
In many ways.
Were you concerned about his safety?
Yes. We honestly weren't sure what state of mind he had.
Annie says Tex's state of mind was guilt-ridden and distraught, and sex was the furthest thing from his mind.
Did you ever have a romantic relationship with Tex McIver?
Never.
Did you ever perform a massage on him any time in the months following the death of his wife, Diane, which he was naked?
1000% never.
Did you ever at any time, and I'm talking about any time before Diane McIver's death or after her death, engage in any sexual conduct, however you want to define it, with Tex McIver?
Never.
Besides, Texas defense team says none of the prosecution's allegations made any difference.
It was an accident. That's what happened in the car that night. Another woman, the masseuse. Why don't they have a motive that makes any sense?
For days, the jury huddles over the case, even sitting in Tex and Diane's SUV to reenact the shooting. Was this an accident or cold, calculated murder? When jurors come back with a decision, it's a shocker.
You have a verdict?
Next, the verdict is in. Or is it?
This trial lasted much longer than expected.
Accusations of murder, millions of dollars in the bank, and a masseuse. The trial of lawyer Tex McIver had it all. And if the drama in the courtroom wasn't enough, the jury would supply some last-minute drama during deliberations. Claud Tex McIver on trial for shooting his wife Diane in the back and killing her.
As she's sitting at a red light, she hears a gunshot.
Now, Tex is sweating bullets in an Atlanta courtroom as a jury deliberates his fate. Did Tex plan this in a case of malice murder? Or was it just a tragic accident, as he claims? The 75-year-old attorney has been in custody for months. He was not allowed out to attend his mother's funeral. Reporter Natalie Rubino from our affiliate CBS 46 was in the courtroom. Despite the sensational headlines, she says this was no slam-dunk trial.
From the very beginning, the prosecution was criticized for having a weak case.
But as trial watchers wait breathlessly for the jury's decision, the moment of truth is put on hold. In an exclusive interview with CBS 46, juror Lakeisha Boyd says they were deadlocked on some of the charges.
It was the wording. We had a couple of them that didn't know the meaning of the wording.
It was looking like the 7-week case was about to be declared a mistrial. But the judge isn't buying it. He clarifies the charge and tells the jury, keep deliberating. Then, just 2 hours later, the court reconvenes. Suddenly, the legal logjam is gone.
We have a verdict? Yes, we do, Judge.
A hush falls over the courtroom as the verdicts on 5 separate charges are read, and it catches everyone off guard.
On count 1, murder, we find the defendant not guilty.
After that not guilty verdict was read, we all thought that Tex was walking out of the courtroom a free man.
But there are 4 more to go, and suddenly any chance of Tex walking free completely disappears.
On count 2, we find the defendant guilty of felony murder.
That was a huge surprise. There were gasps in the courtroom. The sheriff deputy had to tell people inside to just quiet down.
The rest of the verdicts are no better for Tex McIver. Aggravated assault, possession of firearm while committing a felony, influencing a witness. All guilty. Juror Lakeisha Boyd says it was a simple matter to find him responsible for Diane's death.
He had knowledge of guns, so therefore that was reckless for you to even ask for a gun, then fall back to sleep and your hand was on the trigger. So that's where the aggravated assault came.
Under Georgia law, if a person is found guilty of aggravated assault and the victim dies as a result, that person must be convicted of felony murder.
That's bad news for Tex. He may never see his luxury condo or beloved ranch again.
In Georgia, felony murder comes with a mandatory life sentence.
Guilty is the last word Tex McIver hears as a free man. Immediately after the verdict, Tex is stripped of his belt, slapped in cuffs, and perp-walked to jail. Sentencing is scheduled for the end of May, when his attorneys will argue Tex should be given the possibility of parole. But it may not matter. Tex McIver will almost certainly die behind bars.
He won't be eligible for parole until he's served 30 years in prison. Tex is approaching his mid-70s, so in many ways, this is a death sentence for him.
Because McIver was convicted of felony murder, the district attorney says McIver will not have access to Diane's $7 million estate. Up next, a man claims his wife isn't missing. She ran off with another man. But the clues in a mysterious postcard point to something more sinister.
It turns out to be the central piece of evidence that blew this case wide open.
It's kind of creepy.
Coming up. Welcome back to Crime Watch Daily. Up next, an unbreakable bond between a mother and a daughter. Nothing could drive a wedge between Angie Yarnell and her mom, Mary Ann, and that tight relationship would help solve one mystery and leave another still to be solved. Here's reporter Jason Matera.
Everybody who knows Angie Yarnell is shocked to hear that she's left her husband and run off with another man.
Just left. Just vanished.
But this postcard Angie's mother received saying her daughter and new love are visiting his family interstate would end up telling a very different and infinitely more sinister story. After a top forensic handwriting expert makes a chilling discovery that spells foul play. This was, it turns out to be, the central piece of evidence that blew this case wide open.
It's kind of creepy if you think about it.
Nobody may have ever uncovered the terrible truth about Angie if it hadn't been for her courageous and tenacious mom, Mary Ann, who was already fighting throat cancer when she suddenly found herself waging yet another battle to learn what really happened to her daughter. These are two tragedies that are stacked on each other.
I tried to find help. I could not find a soul that could help me. Nobody seemed to know what to do.
But Mary Ann believes it was her determination to get to the bottom of her daughter's case that actually helped her beat the throat cancer, just so she could speak for her.
I had to find my voice, and I had to fight. And I had to fight real hard to get the things done that I've gotten done.
Angie was Mary Ann's only daughter, born and raised a simple country girl in the little town of Holt Summit, Missouri.
Angie has always been a really unique person, funny little child. She was an artist. She loved poetry.
And her pets, which had made her dream of a career working with animals.
She loved her dogs. Her dogs were her children.
Angie had also hoped to have children one day with her husband of 3 years, Michael Yarnell.
She seemed real happy with him, at first anyway.
But Mary Ann says the couple quickly began having problems in their marriage.
Early on, she told me that he was emotionally and verbally abusive. But then they seemed to work it out.
Until Michael accused Angie of being unfaithful. Did Angie ever have an affair?
No. He said that she'd been having an affair, but it was he, in fact, that was having the affair with a woman also named Angie.
And Mary Ann says the marriage finally collapsed.
But she never expressed anything other than toward the end, he said he was leaving her.
But then, shocking news, when Michael turns up at Mary Ann's home one day to tell her that Angie has just left him.
He said, well, she's gone now. And I said, what do you mean she's gone? He said, I think she must have ran away with another man. And I said, well, who'd she run away with? And he said, well, I don't know. I came home and she was gone.
Mary Ann is dumbfounded. And you found that hard to believe?
Very hard to believe.
Why?
Surely she would have let me know something about some guy, right? But she didn't.
So for her to skip town and not convey any information to you, that was highly unusual.
Highly.
Especially as Angie, 28, had been helping care for her mother as she battled cancer.
She certainly wouldn't have left me sick like that.
And when she still hasn't heard from Angie by the following day, Mary Ann files a missing persons report.
They didn't want to accept it at first. They said she probably did run away with another man.
Mary Ann hopes police are right.
I'm trying to fool myself because I don't want to admit that she's dead.
In the weeks after Angie went missing, her mom would receive a very odd piece of mail that would play a huge role in the case.
10 days later, I received a postcard, and it was postmarked from Harrison, Arkansas.
It reads, Mom, we are going to Texas tomorrow to visit Gary's family. We'll write soon as we are settled. Love, Angie.
And I thought, dang, she really did go with some guy, and his name is Gary.
Mary Ann was even looking forward to meeting Angie's new man at Thanksgiving in just a few weeks' time.
She always knew how I was about holidays. Everybody needs to come here because it's a holiday, and I mean it. I was certain she would be here and bring Gary. She would not miss Thanksgiving.
But she'd missed this one. And as more weeks go by with no word from Angie, her increasingly despairing mother starts examining that postcard a little more closely.
I could tell that it looked sort of like her writing, but not her normal writing.
Now Mary Ann finally accepts the truth she tried so hard to not let herself believe. What leaped out to you that finally made you say, wow, this actually is a forgery?
I could just tell. Even in the beginning, I said it's not her normal writing. There were a lot of dots where it was like written really slowly. And some of the letters, I've never seen her write like that.
Next.
In these hooks seen in the bottom of the 4, that hook is also seen in the H.
A renowned handwriting expert not only tells Marianne that Angie didn't write that postcard, she also identifies exactly who did.
This is the hand that wrote the postcard, and from there it snowballed.
We return now to our mystery in Missouri. What really happened to Angie Yarnell? Her estranged husband says she left with another man, and our Jason Matera reports her mother would soon get evidence in the mail that would seem to corroborate that story.
The only clue to the whereabouts of Angie Yarnell is a postcard her mother Marianne had received, seeming to confirm the stunning news that Angie's husband Michael had broken to her a week earlier, that Angie had left him and run off with another man.
And it says, "Mom, Gary and I are on our way to visit his family in Texas. We'll call when we are settled. Love, Angie."
Angie had never mentioned anyone named Garrett or her mother, and it was unlike her daughter to just up and leave their little hometown of Holt Summit, Missouri, without at least saying goodbye.
Instantly, I knew something was very wrong.
And when months go by with no more word from Angie, Marianne comes to believe the postcard was a forgery and turns detective trying to find her.
I hung thousands of flyers. I drove to different states and hang flyers. I put them on windshields, in parking lots. I got billboards. I did everything I could with local TV.
All this while battling throat cancer.
I was physically really unhealthy. I mean, I lived on the verge of tears, and it was just really hard. Just really hard to not know where your person is, especially your child.
But for several years, Marianne makes no headway in her search for Angie until her heartbreaking plight comes to the attention of a local newspaper reporter.
It was sad to see that Marianne had done this enormous investigation on her own, so that's what really reeled it in for me.
Reve Edwards would write a story about Angie's disappearance for the Jefferson City News Tribune that would attract broad media attention. And something very odd and dramatic suddenly happens. 4 years after her daughter would go missing, Michael Yarnell would be named a person of interest in the case. But before police could talk to him, Michael himself would disappear.
I was told by his stepmother that he left town with his clothes tumbling in the dryer.
Never to return to the home he once shared with Angie.
I had no clue where he was.
And Marianne, who had always suspected Angie's husband may have had something to do with her disappearance, is convinced the media spotlight on the case had driven him into hiding.
I want to know where he is.
Because now you're really suspicious of his activity regarding your daughter's case.
Yes, he was the enemy.
Marianne and her new ally, Reve Edwards, figured the best chance of locating Yarnell is to have police list him as a missing person. And Reve had also arranged for a professional handwriting expert to examine that strange postcard Marianne had received after Angie first disappeared.
In these hooks seen in the bottom of the 4, that hook is also seen in the H.
Peggy Walla, who's worked on numerous criminal cases for police, would compare the postcard to other samples of Angie's handwriting, immediately noticing numerous differences.
What jumped out at you when you were analyzing this postcard?
The first thing that jumped out at me was the shape of the ends of the S's. It was also lacking a hook at the bottom of the first stem of the capital letter H. The N formation was different. The G, the lowercase g formation, was different.
And she'd quickly come to an unquestionable conclusion.
So when I got the postcard and the samples, I said, she didn't write it.
But that's not all Peggy Walla would discover. After also comparing the writing on the postcard to that of Michael Yarnell on a handwritten statement he'd given to police at the time of Angie's disappearance. And bingo!
I said, this is the hand that wrote the postcard.
I wasn't at all surprised, not in the least bit surprised at that point.
What was your reaction when Peggy Walla came back and said, this postcard is a forgery and Mike Yarnell is the one who wrote it?
Absolute excitement, because I knew that was going to be our key to get him charged with something.
and from there it snowballed.
With that missing persons report that sleuths Marianne and Reve Edwards had filed on Michael Yarnell finally paying off. When he shows up in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Mike Yarnell had applied for a civilian job on an Air Force base there. And they did a background check and saw that he was listed as a missing person,
detaining him and alerting the Morgan County Sheriff's Office back in Missouri.
They sent 2 detectives down to talk to him.
Confronted with the results of that handwriting analysis by Peggy Walla, Yarnell would come clean about the postcard Marianne received a week after her daughter's disappearance.
Mike admitted that he sent that postcard with the thought of throwing law investigation off and giving Marianne a little bit of peace.
And after being extradited back to Missouri on felony charges of forgery and tampering with evidence, Yarnell would ultimately confess to killing his wife Angie during an argument at their home.
He said that they had gotten into a fight and it spilled out onto the deck.
And that she lunged toward him and that he put his arms up in an X motion in front of his face and shoved her.
He said she fell off the deck and hit her head on a rock and died instantly. And he said he sat with her for a while. Then he wrapped her up in a tarp and he put her in the car.
And drove to a nearby lake, put her body in a canoe, and rowed to a deserted little island.
But when he was right at the shore of the island, the boat fell over and she sank into the mud and he couldn't get her out, so he just left her there and went home.
As part of a plea deal Yarnell would make with prosecutors, he agreed to lead police to Angie's body.
They followed him to the island where he claims he lost her body. Nothing was ever found.
Which makes Marianne furious.
Nonetheless, they decided to give him the plea bargain anyway.
Prosecutors dropping murder and other charges against Yarnell in return for him pleading guilty to a much lesser charge of first-degree involuntary manslaughter.
He was handed 7 years, and he spent exactly 4 years in a minimum security prison.
After getting early release for good behavior.
Why would they agree to this plea deal? It seems ludicrous.
It does. It was sad to watch this man get by with killing his wife, mainly because he hid her body so well that they had no proof.
But prosecutors had told Marianne that even with his confession, they doubted they could win a murder conviction against Yarnell.
Even though he said he killed her, they had no evidence, and the evidence is literally her body.
And now, 15 long years since Angie was killed, her still grieving mother continues to search for her, saying she suspects Yarnell lied about how she died and believes her daughter's body is buried somewhere on the property where the couple used to live.
I've searched that property like you can't believe for so many years. I mean, I take a shovel and I go down there. I dig holes. This might be the place, you never know. I crawl under houses. I've been at the bottom of sinkholes. I've been in caves. I've sifted through big burn piles. I've looked in barrels. I do this. I look for Angie. Look at this.
And Marianne, who ties a ribbon around a tree at her home every year Angie remains missing, swears she won't stop looking for her daughter's body until she finds it.
I just need to bring her home. I won't quit. I won't quit looking. I will look for her. As long as I'm physically able, I go look for her.